Welcome to the Mind's Eye podcast. It's just a laid back, chillax kind of format that we got. And the whole purpose of it, though, is to identify emerging and known geniuses like yourself. Just want to really crawl into the mind a little bit to see what's inspiring you and motivating you to move the way that you do, because you're putting life units into what you're doing. So, and I know that you were Genius of the Year, Billie Jean is marketing. Whoop.
I can scream, but yes.
You can do hand jazz.
Yes, again. Just hint. Yeah.
Oh my God. Congratulations. Like, how did you know? Like, what happened?
Well, I got a call like a week or two earlier, and Billy. Well, it was not only a call. It was like I got a WhatsApp audio from Billy, and I was like, okay, this is odd. He's not like sending audios just because. And I got the audio he was telling me, and I was like super excited. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna wear? And then he was like, okay, you need to do a speech. And I was like, okay, now I need to talk in front of everyone. But yeah, it was super exciting. Then Carrie was super helpful with me, telling me, the details and helping me with my kids' accommodations and that kind of things. So it was amazing. It was great. And the class was amazing with Billy. So it was easy to pay attention.
Yeah, no, super, super exciting stuff. And again, like when you were stepping up on stage, what were you thinking? Like, because it looked like you had a lot. Like you were happy, and then I saw you also did like a reel. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was super nervous, to be honest. I was like backstage, like trying to breathe. And to be honest, when you're backstage in that area, I don't know if it's because of the building, but you cannot hear what's going on outside. So I could hear like Billy's voice kind of muffled, but I couldn't hear what he was saying. So I was like waiting for someone else to cue me, like, whoa, like go in. So yeah, I was kind of nervous because I was like, am I missing the cue? I was supposed to be out there. Am I going early and stuff? So yeah, they helped me to understand when to go. And the thing is, I was like, should I print what I'm going to say? Or what am I going to do? So I was like, okay, I will bring the phone up. Like, we are digital. I think everyone is going to understand and going to forgive me for not memorizing things or for being nervous. But yeah, I was super nervous on, okay, where should I go? We never rehearsed anything. It was like, just be there and be ready to speak. So he had no idea what I was going to say. I could have been like roasting him and he wouldn't know that I was going to do that. So it was super spontaneous, and I was actually like, you know what? I didn't like what I wrote when I got there. I didn't like it. So I started like typing again on the phone while we were like waiting for the time. So it was super, let's say like a lot of adrenaline. And the other thing that I find it fun is when I finally relaxed and I was enjoying all the conference and everything, I suddenly saw the team. They were like this, like they were looking for something. I was like, that's weird. What are they looking for? And then there you are, and they grabbed me and they took me to backstage. So they couldn't find me. And it was funny because I was just sitting there looking at them, and they were looking for me. And I was like, but what are they looking to? You know what? That kind of stuff. It was funny. I bet they were worried, but yeah, it was funny for me at least.
Yeah, no, totally epic moment. And it was amazing to really just, even the venue, everybody was cool there. And one of the things that you do is you're in the AI space, right? And you're also going into development. Please talk about what inspired you to really start moving in that direction, because it's just like that is the trend of everything that's going on, and you're definitely leading the way. So please.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I started with Billy when I was still having my music school. So in my music school, other than sales and management and everything that a business involves, I had the issue that I had teenagers as clients. So something that they used to do a lot, and that's a story I always tell, is that they will be typing a message like 5 minutes before class, like, hey, do we have class today? And it's like, it's sunny outside, there's no holiday on, like it's a Monday and it's not holiday at all. And they will be asking. So if I will take more than 40 seconds to answer, they will be like, oh, you should have told me before. I already went to the movies with my friends. I'm like, you asked me 40 seconds ago. That's no excuse. Anyway, so the first thing I did was looking for solutions. I was already a student of Billy, and I was looking for solutions, and I found this thing called chatbots. And I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. And I programmed it to be like, it was a rule-based. It was super basic. And it was like, okay, do we have class today? And the bot only job was to say yes to everything. Do we have class today? Yes. But it's a Sunday. Yes. Everything will be yes, 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 you know? I think it was just to challenge those teenagers. And it was funny because sometimes I would be doing it in front of me just to mess with me because I was talking to a parent and I couldn't answer. And they will get the bot saying yes, 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 yes. By the way, we call that bot Dylan. So yeah, we were playing a lot with that kind of things. And the whole thing was to make it funny. Then it was like, okay, we need to make it a little bit better, you know, smarter. We need to actually help us on sales and book in the demo classes and that kind of thing. So I got it to evolve into something rule-based, but smart enough to automate that process. Like someone realizes that we exist and then actually show up because they already have an appointment scheduled with us and we know everything about the parent and everything about the kid. So that was something that I loved. And then it hit this thing called COVID. So the building has closed and I cannot provide lessons live anymore. And that was something that we had as a super powerful thing. So we tried to move to online, and about this time, Billy had this class about it. I lose it all 30 days to start from scratch and that kind of things. And what I did was like, okay, I need to think that if I'm not able to ever come back to my building because this thing like goes longer than the 2 weeks they promise, I need to do something. So I was like, okay, I kind of developed this skill for chatbots and I need to grow it. I need to start doing it for more people. So I started like joining groups. I started solving questions and blah, blah, blah. That took me to meet my now partner, Ryan Baggett. And he was a rising star on the chatbot world, but on restaurants. It was kind of distant to what I was doing, but we clicked and we started working together that December. COVID was still a thing. So later next year, we were like, okay, you know what? There's this thing called AI because we started like early spring on 21 or 22. We were like, okay, this can help us with the copy, especially because I'm not a native speaker. I have a lot of problems, and plus my dyslexia, I have a lot of problems with spelling and with some more straight kind of talk. I have that kind of problems. And that's something that we needed for the copies, for the posting and for the ads and for everything and comment management. So we started with AI there. And something that I developed while learning chatbot was API. So whenever we got that access to learn about copy, I was begging this company to open the API so we could use it in our chatbots. And they were like, yes, on December. December came and nothing. And then another month, and then another month. And then OpenAI came out. So after OpenAI opens the API so we could actually work with it, I think it was 2 months after that Chatbot Builder AI was born. Ryan was like, okay, we need to do something with this. So here is now our platform. So now what we're doing is that we are providing the option for someone to create their own chatbot, but not only like the rule base that I learned with, Ryan learned with, but with that API access that we were begging for months that we should have to empower the users. And now basically what we're doing is teaching people how to prompt, because that's the skill, not the logic behind the flowcharts and the flow builder, but the actual prompt. It's amazingly powerful. And that's a skill that you will be surprised how many people, like adults, don't have the logic to communicate in a written way. So that's what we're working right now. And I think that AI is not only the future, but it's the today. And if you don't learn this today, by the time that you are trying to learn it, what's going to happen is that you will have to learn whatever we're learning now, and whatever next month comes out, and then next month, and next month, and and that you will end up with this massive amount of skills that you have to develop instead of learning them like as they come out. You know, that's something that I think that is the reason why people should be learning this right now, like today.
Yeah. No, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. And I definitely want to honor this conversation by saying, seriously, thank you for showing up the way that you're showing up, because I had to unlock my skill with Billy, and believe it or not, like my dad was special education. I'm too smart for my own good. I'm like, and I even said it on camera, I think it was like during week 3 or 4, I was like, yeah, I am special and this isn't education. Like, I've been able to flip my debilitating, whatever they want to label it, into my genius, because I don't believe in limitations. I believe that that's a superpower, but I had to lean into my skills and my abilities in order to be able to do it. And I'm thankful that you're also a teacher, because you're able to take your passion and then flip it into something that's actually, you were before the trend. Like, I want to get some context on this conversation. You're just like, yeah, so ChatGPT and OpenAI and prompt engineering. It's like some people asked me a few months ago, hey, is AI the devil? And it's just like, wait. Look.
No.
Right. I'm just like, yeah.
Something that I love to tell people is technology is. Whatever you do with that technology could be good or bad. The technology just is. It doesn't have a good or bad because it doesn't have a soul. It doesn't have its own mind. So yeah, it cannot be the devil. But yes, there's people who can use it for bad things as well, that you and I can use it for something good.
100%. And that's actually, again, one of those things where I've had to identify which specific pockets of the market who need AI, and they're actually scared to even do anything with it. But I'm like, guys, breaking news, like, you're going to get left behind whether you like it or not. Like, this is one of those things like the internet where it's now fast becoming a utility, just like social media platforms. At one point in time, it was one of those things where you could just be on. Now it's like you absolutely have to be on it in order to get visibility these days. So when you were going through your thought process, because you also mentioned you launched this during the pandemic, how were you able to really like make that pivot? Because some people still haven't made that pivot. And it's like, several years ahead of time, and you've been able to successfully really take it, integrate it, implement it, institute it, create a business, and also still help people without missing a beat. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think I have been super lucky, because by the time all of this hit, I already had for one had Billy's support on the teaching part, on like, yes, you can do this. I have an amazing husband who was taking care. He's the musician in the house, so he's the one who was taking care of the classes and everything. So he was like, okay, I will take care of the business right now, as you can develop this skill. And then I was lucky enough to meet my partner Ryan, because Ryan has a mind. I will love you for you to meet him, because his mind is in another level, and he's the one who sees the opportunities. I always feel that we make decisions in one of two ways, either because we want to minimize pain or because we want to maximize pleasure. And I have to admit that I been trained to work on the minimizing pain, but Ryan, it's on the other side completely. He's on maximizing pleasure. So he's like, okay, I'm not going to play it safe. I'm going to play to work. I want to go big, because either go big or go home. And I'm like, okay, I will keep you safe while you build big. So that's kind of the agreement that we have. Maybe an unspoken agreement. He's going to build stuff, and I'm going to be like, okay, this is missing this kind of pieces so it doesn't break. And now we have something big that I wouldn't dare to build because I will be too scared of doing. And he can build it, but most likely we'll have a headache thinking, okay, now it broke. How can I fix it? So we do a really good compliment, because he's pretty good at fixing stuff too, but that takes time out of him. And the ability he has is like, okay, I'm going to build things that makes money, and I'm going to be sure that everybody learns how to use it so they don't break it. And I'm going to make sure that the path that he's taking still safe enough. And if not, I'm just going to tell him so he can like look around and say, yeah, you're right. And you know what? I'm going to do this tiny change and now we're safe. That kind of details. And I think that I have been super lucky to find that kind of people along the way. Every time I have found someone who will be open to teach me, like whenever I started with the legacy platforms that we call like the rule-based kind of things, I was able to find a lot of people who was willing to teach me, who was willing to say, hey, Wendy, you are making this mistake. This is how you fix it. Or you know what? I have a question and I think you can do it. And they will challenge me. They will challenge me to actually prove that I can solve problems. And that was something that helped me feel ready to take the chance whenever Ryan said, okay, here is our platform. Let's grow it. So that's something that I have to say. I haven't looked.
Yeah, no, 100%. You're talking about, now you're definitely speaking my love language, because it's a duality, especially when you have a team or a partner. It's what I call dual focus. Like, one of them has to keep the stability, the foundation, and you have another one who's like pushing things to the next level. And then, it's a real push pull and a twist, because sometimes you'll have a genius in one area and you're pushing and pulling, and they're like, wait. So it's always like this duality of the twisting of the motion, right? So I also want to go back to what you had talked about too, because this is super important, what you just talked about, which was the correlation between prompt engineering and logic. Because what I'm finding in the marketplace as well is that there's a huge, if I had to sum it up into one word, I would just say illiteracy. And the reasons why is, and for my particular reasons, is because some people just don't know what they don't know. And even when they get introduced to it, it's almost like having a Tesla back in the 1920s when the Model T was just coming out. They like, what is this? Yeah, it's like a car, but you don't kind of know it's a car. You think it's a UFO and a spaceship, but we're still working to use that tool to communicate. And the other thing I wanted to go over too is how you said it, which was really the acknowledgement of somebody. And that's what prompted this, because they weren't getting a response from you within 40 seconds. So you're just like, what? Because that's how it was when I was even in the automotive industry, when I was one of the first people to actually create like Ford and other people like that. Basically, I'd have to respond as fast as humanly possible. And they were talking about a policy within 8 hours. I'm just like, no, it needs to be 1 minute.
Yeah.
You are talking about 40 seconds. I'm just like, wow.
So teenagers, like at the time I was with teenagers, they are like, they were trying to make it my fault for them to be able to skip class. So it's different, the dynamic that we had there. And again, we're talking about musicians. So these teenagers were natural rebels. So that's something that we need to take in account. So going back to the logic thing, something that I think it's missing a lot is people doesn't know how they know. I recently did a class about this, because I can ask you, okay, how do you know that that's a cat and that's a dog? And they will tell you, because that's a cat and that's a dog. Like, no, I want you to tell me, how do you know? Because if you cannot tell me, how do you know that is a cat and that is a dog, then the AI will never learn how to do it, because you cannot teach them. And something else I tell them is that when we were with the music school, one of the last summer camps we had, they brought this kid. It was a special needs kid because he was in the spectrum. And this kid, they didn't tell us, so it was kind of different at the beginning. But then when they finally admitted, okay, he's in the spectrum, and we're like, oh, now we know what we have to do, because we were ready for that, but we need to know. So what I did, we were like working with him. He learned how to read music and everything. He was 5 years old or 6. Anyways, the thing is, I took him to the drum classroom, the drum classroom. I gave him the drumsticks. I gave him his music sheet for drums, and I placed it on the drums play set. And I told him, please do the exercise. So while I was like turning, the next thing he did was throw the drumsticks to the ground and go down to do push-ups. Because I said the exercise, but I never said the drums exercise. So that's something that for me was a huge like light at the end of the tunnel for AI and logic, because the AI will do whatever you tell it to do, not what you meant to tell it. So that kind of details, whenever I tell that story to my students, or when we are like having a live training, that's something that tells it like, oh, that makes sense. So that's why the AI, it's doing this instead of that. Example, I hate that the AI always asks for the email, even when the user told me the email 5 messages ago. And it's like, you told it, always ask for the email, instead of, if you don't know the email, ask for it. So it's a subtle difference that maybe a human might count the context around it, but the AI cannot. And you cannot tell it, how is it possible that you didn't knew that you shouldn't have asked it again? Well, the thing is, it's AI, and consider it either an alien that it's learning about humans, or consider it like you're talking to a kid in the spectrum, that you need to be very specific Otherwise, if the kid's logic can understand it in a different way, it will do it. Okay, that's something that I feel like is related with education and is related to logic, and it's like a pillar for AI. That's at least what I see.
No, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more because that is one of the things that I had to learn a long time ago. I had beta access to chat before it came out. Now also I'm with the MLL right now. That's just totally insane. And to your point, there has to be a clear delineation of how you're able to really express it, to show the syntax, to say, hey, because AI can be very literal. So we have to give it the color. We have to give it the context. I equate it to my clients as being like, it's a skeleton. That's it. It's just the bones. Now we have to put the meat on there. And even when we're doing copywriting and training it, you have to have the tone, the intention. You have to give it the context. There's a lot to it. So it's almost like, again, Mr. Potato Head, you're just kind of dressing it up, but it's just like, it's already something that's there and you just have to really put it there because the logics are so important between having good copy versus amazing copy and some unbelievable stuff where it really sounds like you're having a human. But I also wanted to go into asking you that question as well, because with the merging of AI and logic, and to me, technology is always good. It always, of course, to your point, it's like people are going to sometimes start out because it's just the way the life works, I guess. But I guess my question to you would be, from the AI and logic's viewpoint, do you believe that if people get more dependent on it, they think less? And before you answer that, for me, it's actually caused me to think more because I want to make sure I'm at a higher level communication line where I want to make sure like it sounds exactly like how I sound, because then I'll train it. So then that way I can go move on to the next thing. That's how I personally do it.
The thing is, I believe that AI, automation, and technology as a whole, it's meant to do lazy people more lazy and efficient people more efficient. So if you are already an efficient person, or you're already someone who has a hunger for learning, then AI will help you do it faster. Just as the computer helps you do it faster, just as the phone helps you do it faster. There's a lot of people who will use the phone as a toy. They will be only like on social media consuming content and will be playing games. And there's people who will use it as like I'm dependent on my computer. But Ryan, for example, it's dependent on his phone. He will build everything from his phone. He's working from the phone. He doesn't have any games there. He's not spending time like consuming entertainment. He is working. So whatever you choose to do with the AI, it will just make it more. Just as we said that money doesn't change people, just show what it's inside. Like someone who is selfish will be more selfish. Someone who's giving will give more. That's exactly the same with technology. Just like in Spanish will be potencia. Like it just like pushes out what's in you. That's my opinion on AI and technology.
Wow. And see now, because we've had this prompt engineering conversation, now me not being literal, I'm going to ask, is that how your mind's eye works? Like you see the correlation, how because I see you light up when you talk about it. Let's go into that. Like it's firing you up.
Yeah, no, for me, while my husband was studying the master's degree, some of his, because he's in Gestalt psychotherapy. So some of his student mates or classmates will ask like, is she in the spectrum? And I was like, I don't think so. I don't know. But yeah, so sometimes I notice that maybe you're talking to me about one tiny issue, but I'm already thinking that if I solve it this way, I'm going to face this another issue later. But if I solve it this way, then I have 3 more problems to solve. So I will take this one and then I will face the one when I face it. So yeah, my mind, it's always thinking like 3 or 4 steps ahead of that logic. So I have to admit that sometimes I have this hard time to connect with people who's just starting because I'm going too fast sometimes, right? But the thing is, I think that AI allows us to help that kind of things for me, because I will go with AI. Okay, I need to translate this thing in my brain to something that 1 is entertaining, 2 is easy to digest, and 3 doesn't have like way too complicated words, because I cannot pronunciate complicated words, and because most of my audience and most of the people who is using Chatbot Builder AI not a native speaker of English. Either they are like using translators or they are with the tiny English they know, the broken English they know. And that will bring me to another thing, but I don't want to forget. But the thing is, I do that kind of details, so I don't use complicated words either in English or Spanish, so I can help them, most of the people, and they don't feel like I don't belong because I couldn't understand what that word means. So that's something that we do. And before I forget, and because this is something that most native speakers of English either have a wrong idea or have never thought about it, I think it's something that's super important, especially for the non-native English speakers, is that you can prompt on any language and it will be efficient. Why do I say this? My brain, I live 5 blocks from the border and I cross it 20 times a week. So my brain is divided and sometimes I forget a word in English and Spanish. So I prompt it in Spanglish sometimes and it works. And why it's important for me to tell this? Because I have seen Latinos trying to prompt in English, and because there is not their strongest, what they end up doing is a prompt that doesn't have clarity. Even a native speaker, a human, will read it and will say like, what's this trying to tell me to do? So the AI will have the same issue. But if you prompt it in Spanish in a clear way, the only thing you have to worry about is something that we call cognates. And that's a kind of words that are way too similar in more than one language. Example, the word actual. If I say actual in English, is like a fact, but if I say it in Spanish, actual means nowadays. So that kind of words are the only ones that could get you in trouble when prompting in Spanish or any other language. But other than that, while you're if you're clear with your prompting, it will understand any language. So don't be scared about the language barrier, because I have seen a lot of Anglo people saying like, no, the only language you can prompt is in English, and if you do it in Spanish, it's wrong. It's not that.
Mm. I think I may have lost her, but that's okay. We'll be able to reconnect here shortly. But I definitely want to say a lot of the stuff that she's talking about is like spot on as far as when it comes to prompt engineering, because I know for me, as an example, one of the hardest things when I first started learning the prompting was to really get the computer to get the idea of full context. Because what typically happens is you're training something that is still, at least at that point in time, machine language learning. But the problem is it's still in learning mode, and there's a whole bunch of different ways that humans do things. It's a whole bunch of different ways that humans show up. It's a whole different bunch of different ways that we all talk and communicate. So from an AI and copywriting viewpoint, what I like to do personally is to make sure that I can make sure that I'm as clear as possible as to what I'm expecting. That's if I'm actually writing. If I'm actually thinking through some creative, then I try to focus in on simply like, what's the next step? Like, how are we able to really be able to get the answers that we're looking for? Because at the end of the day, I want to make sure that this technology, that at least the particular prompt that I'm using, is super humanized, and we're actually able to get the results that we want. Because again, and from my viewpoint, this is a good intersection, and she's back. It's just a really amazing intersection between the high tech and the high touch. And I really believe Wendy is absolutely crushing it on that lane. Are you back with us?
Sorry, a tiny kind of blackout, and I'm back.
All good. No, what I was just saying in your absence was that I wanted to tie in AI and copywriting, and also how you've been able to actually really understand the value of words and how they need to be put in. But also what I've learned with prompt engineering is that we have to somewhat expect an outcome, but like a direction that we want to go to. It's just like you said, like how you mentally bookmarked it. And you're like, I don't want to forget about the broken English. Like sometimes we have to do that also with the prompt engineering, and be like 3 to 4 steps ahead, so that we're able to make sure that our tasks stay on task. Because sometimes AI could just be like a kid, or it just rebels. You go, where'd that come from? Like, mine look at an attitude. It'd be like, I'm about to answer that question. I'm just like, wait. I'm tasking you to, what are we talking?
100%. And did you, like, again, as you met Ryan, he's amazing. He has actually a class where he talks about the 5 P's of prompting. And one of the P's is about perfection. And in perfection, he talks like, you have to give it examples. Because sometimes the way you, like, like verbalize your instructions are not clear enough, and you need to give it examples, and don't limit it yourself to positive examples only. Also, do the negatives one so you can teach him or teach it how to actually move or redirect a user who is not following instructions, because that's something that you have to do. And yeah, what you're saying, like sometimes it will give you kind of an attitude. But yeah, that's something that I love about the AI, because it challenges you about thinking, okay, why is it doing that? I remember one case where the AI, where you were asking, hey, did you offer chatbots? It was an agency. And the bot will say, I'm not allowed to talk about that. And I was like, okay. This agency offers chatbots. And it was like, yes, the agency offers chatbots. And I was like, okay, let's test one more thing. And we were doing some questions, and we diagnosed the bot as multiple personalities. So it was not understanding that it and the agency were the same or belonged together. So because it had instructions of not talking anything that it wasn't about the agency, when I asked it, do you offer chatbots? It said, this is not about the agency, this is about me, therefore I cannot talk about it. You see, that kind of details about logic and super specific. So yeah, that's something that I try to do, and my mind goes there, okay, like don't move anything. I need the AI to tell me what is wrong. And the AI, sometimes when you ask it about, hey, why are you telling me this? What the instruction about this, or how you're understanding that, or repeat to me, what did you say on the last message? And that kind of questions will give you clues on where your prompt is missing something or missing something.
Totally amazing. This is a brilliant, genius baller podcast. I really appreciate you coming through. I want to ask you, because I know you said we got a little bit of time, but I want to make sure, like, for people who are just jumping into it, right? Because this is something that I get asked a lot. So I want to ask you, since you do it and this is where you live, do they have to get to the point of thinking about AI full time in order to get the effect that they want to create? Or does it make sense for them to just really like specialize in one thing that they want to use it for? As an example, you mentioned prompt engineering. I love prompt engineering. Like, that's, if I had to say one thing, like, look, learn prompt engineering. But also, to your point, they have to have a level of communication skills in order to be able to really understand that it's garbage in, garbage out. I don't know else how to say it, but it's going to give you back what you put in. So I teach my clients, like, questions are the answer. The better questions that you give it, the better situations that you give it, the more that it's going to be able to pull and give you the best context based on what it knows at that time, because it will block off from what I'm saying, particular parts, like, hey, prior to this year, we don't know anything, or over here, we don't know anything. Does that make sense? Or
yeah, I think, well, you remind me, I think it was, Superman or something like that whenever it was to the cave, and it was like, okay, the right questions will get you the right answers, that kind of a dialogue. And yes, to be fair, because I have been on the side of the tiny little businesses where the owners have these amazing skills, but not necessarily know about business or technology or AI. I would say, like, if AI is something that you love, go ahead and go full time. But if AI is something that you see as a tool so you can get back time, then learn what makes you a better user of that tool. What do I mean with this? Like, just learn to be clear, learn about logic, and learn to communicate, because that one not only will make you a better user of the AI, but it will also make you a better leader, because if you are with employees, or you have clients, or you have students, or you have any group of people that you have to direct, having a better skill in communication and how to properly tell what you're expecting the other part to provide to you, it will be super valuable. It doesn't need to be only for AI. That logic applies as well whenever you're introducing a new employee to its role. That applies whenever you're having a new client onboarding. It's like for everything it works. So I will say that if you're new, start with the clarity, because it will give you a better process. It will help you simplify your business, will help you find those things that you don't need and it's taking a lot of time from you and money and energy, so you can actually concentrate on those that actually provide the money, the money-making activities, the profit-producing activities, as Billy will call them. So I will say, learn what you need to get your time back, and that time back will tell you where to go next, because now you will have more options to learn, or to say, okay, I will do this another thing that brings me more money. And now I can hire someone who can think for me on the AI side. I don't need to be worrying about that. You see, that's how I see.
Yeah, that's straight fire. Somebody hit the fire button on that one, straight up. So I was going to ask you too, in closing, like, where is your sweet spot for your business specifically? Like, who do you help? Who, like, how can people get a hold of you? All of these things, because I mean, what you're doing is totally genius, and I really say thank you for showing up, especially for the small to mid cap businesses, because they need it now more than ever.
Yeah, 100%. What we're doing right now is that we have like 2 divisions, let's call it. We have the small business who's starting to learn all the AI 101s, and we have the agencies who are trying to serve those small businesses. So we have those 2, and the agencies do have the option to white label us, but that's another story. So either way, if you are an agency that is either growing or trying to implement AI, or you're a tiny business or a small business who's trying to implement AI, what I will say is visit our website, chatbotbuilder.ai, or find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, but I have to warn you, that Facebook group we guarded as a baby is our treasure. So because of that, we request everyone to answer all of the questions and to be truthful with what they told us, what they say in the answers. If we notice someone who is not willing to answer the questions, that person doesn't belong in the group. And why am I saying this? Because in that group, you will find not only Ryan and me answer all of the questions, but you will find that all of the other agency owners, all of the other business owners are answering questions to you as well. Like, hey, how did you charge for this? How much is that? How can I calculate that? I have this issue. Or they can even help you with the prompt, like, okay, post the prompt here. We can help you like arrange it, or let's jump on a Zoom. I have seen a ton of times that the people jump in Zooms or group calls to help each other for free. So that's something that we take care of a lot, and we are super careful. So if you're willing to join the group, if you're a Latino, I recommend the WhatsApp group because everybody speaks Spanish there. But like something that I need to like be super specific at, because that's something I feel so proud of, is that even my English speaker users and agencies, and even Ryan, who is an American and only speaks English, they use the translator to help those who doesn't speak English. Like if they see a question in Spanish or in French or in Portuguese, they will use the translator to help you. So that kind of community is not easy to build or to find. So we take a lot of care of it. And if you're willing to join and you're willing to learn, you're more than welcome. Just like respect the rules and be part of the family and help each other.
And that's why I got goosebumps as soon as you said it. That is the true mind's eye right there, because you're like, hey, we need to do this together. And that's my mantra as well. So when we really connected on this level, I'm like, my people, for real? Oh, this is like the mantra to the cows come home. And thank you so much for showing up the way that you show up. And again, all the links are going to be posted down here as well. And in closing, what would you recommend to anybody who wants to get into the game? Like what's the highest and best advice if you had to do it all over again?
If I had to do it all over again, I will start looking for a community as soon as possible, because that community and me showing up on the community open the doors to find Ryan in this case, but then you can find your own Ryan, that person who complements you on the business side, and that together you can grow a business. And if it's not to find a partner because you can do it by yourself or you want to do it by yourself, you can find a lot of people to follow you or to say, hey, I need your help because I have seen that you can solve this issue. So yeah, something I will do sooner if I go back is to be less in the shadows. That's something that I have been talking to Billy lately. Like I was used to be like, okay, no, I'm lurking. I'm not speaking. I'm not commenting. I'm not liking anything. I'm just like looking around. But as soon as I started showing up, as soon as I started like speaking up, I noticed that people noticed me and that either they want to team up with me or they wanted to ask me for help. So that's something I will do sooner, and I'd recommend join a community, find your spot, and show up.
Man, awesome. Thank you so much. That's it for me and Wendy on the Mind's Eye podcast. Please subscribe. Go buy her stuff. She's totally dope. I love how she shows up and just totally amazing. And thank you. And again, there's anything that we can do for you, let us know. And we're here to serve and support, but also go support Wendy. So we'll chat soon with you guys, and stay on Wendy when I holler at you.
Bye.